G'day, you big-head wankers. You want to hear a touching story? Check it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what's going on? This is episode number 6 of TheLoreWhores, and today we'll be talking about the Tyrande short story. I guess it's called the Tyrande Malfurion short story. We'll be talking about that, a little bit of a review and discussion. And we'll also be talking about Forum RP. So this will pretty much be a topic that covers, well, a different side of role-playing within the Warcraft universe. So, rather interesting topic. I am Erodus. I am the guy who's talking right now, just in case you didn't know that. We've also got Icanus and Plague.
Oh, hi.
And we also have Mad God and Estella.
Caw-caw!
So, how many's that? I can't count. What, we got like 5 now?
There's 5 of us.
Five.
There's
It's
more
less
than
than
4,
10.
but less than 6.
1, 2, 3, 4 potatoes.
It's like a 5-sum.
Yeah.
It's a
Go ahead and
five-sum.
count on your fingers if you got it.
My
There's no
fingers are
shame in
busy
it.
at the moment. Don't wanna know
One.
what
Oh.
2,
this-
and 3,
For
and
sure.
4,
My nose.
and 5. I don't know how to say any letter in the numbers in German, so I'm just winging it.
So
I'm
how are
pretty
we,
sure I
ladies
did
and
it right
gentlemen?
though.
I mean,
How are we?
eh.
No, I'm good.
I'm hungry.
I'm feeling very German, although this isn't really German at all.
You are going to offend a lot of people, my friend.
I don't care.
We've never done
Hey,
that before.
my family's all German and I don't
I
give a
will
damn.
I will wear my lederhosens and I will do whatever I want.
That's beautiful.
Okay, then.
The Lederhosen.
Oh, dear Lord. Okay.
That's the only thing you know about Germany is lederhosen. Really?
No. There's
Okay.
also a lot of
I
drinking.
mean, What about-
I'm
else are
pretty
you
sure
gonna
that
go with
Beer Fest covers everything I need to know about German culture.
that's terrible.
Let's jump
No,
into it,
it's
guys.
really terrible.
Let's start with the Tyrande and... Well, don't mention Steve Irwin either. Let's start with the Tyrande
Crikey!
and Malfurion story. Who wants to take off that interview? You know what, Estella? You're very good with words. You want to take this one?
Oh, yeah, thanks, just because you don't want to do it.
No, I'm bad at it, so your turn.
Or it has nothing to do with it, you haven't read it?
Don't say it. Don't say that. Oh, no, I read it. Yeah, I've completely read it. Hey.
He
Yeah.
totally read it.
100%, right?
Yeah, okay.
I got all the way through.
Basically, it is the story set just after, like, the days following the original Cataclysm. Starts off with Tyrande in God damn it.
Ritheron.
Ritheron. I'm gonna butcher every name in WoW lore, I swear.
That's your mission, is it?
Ratharian.
Anyway, she's in Ritheron village and just looking for survivors and collecting the dead. Then she receives word that the Naga have taken over Feathermoon Stronghold. And since she was close with Shandris Feathermoon, they mentioned that she was like a daughter to her. In the story, she decides that she has to go, and Malfurion throws a hissy fit and doesn't want her to go looking for Shandris, but she sneaks off anyways. And I have to say that's the one part of the show that kind of irks me, is that she feels the need to sneak away. But anyway, she goes down there, and Malfurion ends up showing up, and they find Shandris, and it's kind of it's supposed to showcase their relationship, I suppose, with each other, like which they mention the plant that flowers when it's, a couple with perfect love, but that's
Aw.
pretty much the gist of it.
Wonderful.
So she actually sneaks out of the village?
Yeah, she
Is that-
she
that's what
leaves
happens?
she leaves Darnassus without telling anybody, basically.
I remember a time when Tyrande would look at Malfurion and he'd be like, "You shouldn't let Illidan out," and she was like, "Yeah, well, fuck you."
Yes, that is what bothers
I
me.
mean,
It's like a step back. They've been together thousands of years. They supposedly have a perfect love, and she can't even stand up to him and say, this is important to me. I'm leaving.
Well,
You can come
no,
if you-
the flower didn't bud until the end of the story. Spoiler alert, by the way. But yeah, the flower did not bud until the end of that, after they kind of made up over...
I'm just saying, I remember a time when Tyrande was a zealous, xenophobic hard-ass. All I'm saying.
All right.
Well, yeah, but that's one thing. They made her too girly. My God.
I'm gonna get this out of the way because I feel like people are gonna bring this up soon, and I'm gonna get my knack defense ready before you guys jump into the knack offensive. I'm gonna get you guys early, all right? The way I see knack is that it's not entirely his fault. I think he's an okay writer. I don't agree with a lot of the things that have happened, but the problem I have with people hating knack is that it's a joint decision to release these books, and all the people on the creative development have a read through these books and say yes, no. I mean, it's not
I'm kind of
beyond
annoyed with
medicine.
creative development that they keep hiring this guy to do the books.
Well, it's not beyond medicine to say, hey, you know what? I don't necessarily like the direction this is going. Maybe we should change this or write that. But no, it's released with all of them agreeing that it's okay. So, hating on Knack, I don't know. I think he's too much of a Tolkien sort of writer where he describes everything like the cape for 4 fucking pages. I don't care, but he seems to do that sort of shit. But that's something that belongs to him. That's his writing style. But when it comes to the story and stuff like that, I think the onus is more broad than just him. Go, attack.
No, I gotta agree with Stella here on this one. I really disliked that Tyrande doesn't seem as forceful as she was depicted in Warcraft 3. Though admittedly, I don't really feel like Mal complained too much on this one. It really did not come across to me as if he even gave half of a shit that she was leaving.
Like, yeah, okay, whatever.
It's like, yeah, I guess you're gonna go walk into village full of Naga. That's probably a bad idea. But if you
Well, you knew how
go...
druids are, Like, the Storms have that nice peace pipe, man.
Yeah, well,
Oh my God.
I lost my tangent, but I was gonna say, as far as like the War of the Ancients Tyrande was concerned, I feel like back then, like in the context of that story, it was a little more appropriate for her to not be as hardcore because I mean, much younger. Yeah, much younger.
More naive.
They hadn't had a world-ending apocalypse occur yet, so it seemed a little more appropriate.
Yeah, after 10,000 years, you can.
Yeah,
get
you
a little
can
bit more
definitely get a little.
Especially
badass.
since she kind of took the mantle of leadership, and she's
Yeah,
in
it was
charge
kind
of
just
the whole
thrown
race.
at her. Exactly.
And that'll kind of harden you up a little bit. That I have to take care of my entire race. That's a lot of responsibility.
Because
do
my
hold-
boyfriend is sleeping in.
Yeah.
I do
pretty much.
hope that Pandaria will give the Night Elves a bit of opportunity for some spotlight, just because it seems like another one of those, like, these are the guys that the Night Elves will identify with out of everybody in the Alliance, just because, like, they're the other weirdo guys. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well,
it
oh
seems like
God, I hope we get less spotlight on the Night Elves. Jesus.
no, I'm just
yeah,
how many
because
books?
they have
How many
so-
books are we gonna have about these guys before we go, okay, we get it. Night Elf shit in the forest, and it was awesome. Thank you.
They're the
Let's
I
second,
write
wasn't
something
trying
fun
to put it in
here.
that
They're
light.
the
I'm
second-
just saying that, like,
the second oldest of the playable races in WoW. So yeah, they're gonna have a lot of war because or a lot of books about them because they've had the longest history.
Well, not just that, they fucked the planet so many times it's hard to count. So they sort of have to have a lot of books written about it because they're significant.
I was just kind of more identifying with the idea that, like, all three of the human human gnome dwarf cultures kind of seem a little homogenous, right? Well, and I guess Worgen now too. They're a little, and then like you have like a different philosophical outlook, that naturey outlook, right? Like with Night
like
Elves and the other half. Like you have like two halves of the Alliance. You have like the kind that are really industrial, and then you have the hippies. And that's what like you have like different kind of hippie. Like I mean, that's really how it is. Like you have the very industrialized, very modern, very Victorian kind of aspect, and then you have the hippies.
So the
would like-
Worgen's the middle point.
Yeah.
But that's part of the reason I'd like to see more Draenei lore is because they're aliens. It's an alien take on everything. But you know, Blizzard apparently just doesn't give.
Oh, welcome to Exodata. We are very friendly.
Well, that's the
the
thing,
Russian
right?
aliens.
We had a friend that a long time ago that he used to play with and made a Draenei when they first came out, and he basically played the guy like he was Borat, like the character no idea of any of the social etiquette. So like we had these two guys that were really rough on each other all the time in character. They were both humans, and like he walks up on them, and one of them calls the other shithead or something like that, and he goes, "Why are you calling him shithead?" And he's like, "He's my friend." He's like, "Oh, so you call all of friends shitheads?" And he's like, "Well, yeah." And so from then on, like the Draenei just runs around, just every new person he meets a shithead, and then he goes up to bear hug every single one of them. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. But I mean, you can't really pull that off now because the Draenei have been around for a while. But it was still really funny at the time.
Okay.
You know,
But
I can
back
think of a way to do that. Maybe he was just in a coma for a long time. No, maybe he only woke up recently.
Wake up.
man.
What is this
He can
daytime
see,
TV?
he can see into the future. The guy from Dead Zone. Anyway, but no,
we're getting a little off topic.
Just a little.
Yeah,
on this
little-
One thing I'll say about the
That's what it's
story.
supposed to. Go ahead.
One thing I'll say about the story that I remember is the fact that it actually goes into detail about, and yes, I did read it, but ages ago. One thing that I do remember is the fact that they sort of go in depth in regards to how night elves treat death or how they bury their dead. There's like a whole sort of ceremony there.
Yeah,
I
it says
found that interesting.
I never knew if they do they bury their dead? Do they put them on platforms like the
Well, they
I
have
kinda
graveyards.
Tyrande?
Like an avatar where the little wisp flies away and then the body's just eaten by a tree. I guess that was how I figured it'd happen.
The image that just popped into my head was one of those tree ants actually eating.
Oh dear.
That's so disturbing.
That's a way cooler image than what actually occurs.
Excuse me, Barkleaf, are you done with that thigh? Oh, yes. Yes, it was quite delicious. I cooked it on the stove over here for about 20 minutes. Oh my gosh, how did you cook it? Oh, I used coal. Don't worry about it, bro. It wasn't wood. Were you kidding? You think I'm crazy?
I'm not sure if you can hear that, but that is the sound of me clapping.
But,
Well, I'm glad it's clapping. God, I think it's something else.
so I guess
I had to specify. I felt like I had to specify.
I guess that's kind of the other thing I like about these stories that they've done, where they kind of sneak in little cultural aspects that we don't really think about. Like you don't think about like again, you don't really think particularly about death ceremonies or like weddings and stuff like that. Like everybody takes for granted that like night elves have normal wedding, or like everybody in Azeroth. And granted, they had a normal night elf wedding kind of deal, but like.
Before the whole Malfurion and Tyrande deal, I don't remember anywhere in lore actually specifying that night elves get married. I mean,
there was nothing.
so
I think
yeah,
there was many
so-
like life partner
I
things.
just
Yeah,
said that they were hip.
and then-
Not, and that's
Those
good.
are- mention
I
of it
know,
in-
and then they decide to. Then Knack decides to go in and we're gonna give him a wedding. That's
Well, I think it was. I think that was kind of in Warcraft, not Warcraft 3, but the War of the Ancients trilogy. I think there was some mentioning of courtship.
Well, sure,
yeah,
there was
but
probably
still,
courtship
well-
processes, and it was probably, but it like we're not gonna straight up call them a husband and wife. It just sounds
Right.
silly
Yeah, it's
for
like-
night elves. Like that
they're
connotation
mates.
just sounds really
They are
hilarious.
life mates.
Okay, that whole
The
deal.
orcs.
Malfurion comes home every day, reads the newspaper, sits down, has a bit of tea, kicks up in the easy boy.
Oh dear Lord.
Anyway,
You
Like
know,
I
I had quite a few issues with the story overall. Really, one because it's Tyrande's story, but she totally gets upstaged by Chandris the entire story.
Oh yeah, there's like a giant little. There's a giant block about Chandris in there.
I like
Being
Chandris though, so I don't
horrible.
really like. I feel like Chandris never got a bit of spotlight and never really got a chance to be displayed.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
she
it's
stole someone else's story.
Well, I don't
that's the
care.
thing.
It's not the major lore characters' stories.
Well-
it's the faction leader stories.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm not saying. Actually, I'm going to go on and explain that I actually liked those parts of the story way better than the ones about Tyrande. Mostly
Agreed.
because every combat that Tyrande got into was resolved with her summoning disco lights to defeat her enemy.
Never an arrow to the throat.
She's
No.
bringing it
And
back.
it mentions she picks up it specifically mentions at some point she picks up her glaive because she's going to need it. She never uses it except to
Yeah.
break down the door. She uses it to break down the door where Chandris is, and that's the only time in the entire story she actually uses the glaive.
She
But
could
would
have
you
made
rather-
that
door
got
her
that
bitch?
rather
Naga.
it have been like the scene in the Matrix where they waste thousands of bullets trying to kill 4 guys? Like, would you have rather that she was just like going ballistic with a glaive for no
Yes.
reason? Like she's just like
Yes.
grotesquely
would've-
butchering bodies.
I would have preferred that there at least be like some form of combat other than, oh hey, there's a Naga. Pew, pew. Oh, there's a Naga. Pew, pew. And when she moonfire spams everyone to death.
She's not even a balanced druid.
Yeah, it's cheating is what that is. And someone
Yeah.
needs to let her know she's playing the wrong class.
No,
Agreed.
no, that's the thing. Tyrande was always I want to say somewhere I read her described as a warrior priestess, but she only does priestessy stuff like the entire story.
Remember the days when
Right.
Tyrande
Has
used to
plate
shoot
armor.
arrows made of fire?
Yeah, and she has plate armor, but she never needs it. They don't even come anywhere close to her.
Because she pews them down.
But that's
Yeah.
what the priestesses of Elune are. They're warrior priestesses.
But she doesn't do any of that. She
Exactly.
just
She
No,
wants
I completely
Xena.
agree with
she
you.
wants Xena. That's what we're saying. Is
No.
we're expecting
no,
Tyrande-
not Xena,
like,
because
yeah,
Xena was
I
little
do
too-
want Xena.
Yeah, like I'm
No.
just saying.
Well,
Who
actually,
doesn't?
kind of in that way.
That was awkward. Okay, go ahead.
So
Go.
I think the one saving thing with this whole story is the fact that during BlizzCon 2011, some guy came up and pretty much said, "Hey, how come Tyrande is, Malfurion's arm candy now?" And Medicine
Oh, God.
was,
I'm
Medicine
gonna
was pretty
go
much
ahead.
like, you know what? That's not happening. Give it time. We need to have a lot of time to dedicate a lot of stuff to these characters. So my one hope is that they'll get it right. I have faith.
Well, I guess that's kind of what I was talking. That's what I was going to get at earlier about Pandaria, was that to give an opportunity with, like, because I mean, everybody's already talked about, like, Pandaren are obviously not fluffy, happy panda bears. I'm sure there are some that are, but most of them are pretty much hardcore ninja warriors, right? Like that's the impression that we're supposed to get. So I'm hoping that maybe with that we can kind of get that same zeal with Night Elves again. I guess that was where I was going with that, but it was a really, really bad lead-in.
It's all good.
But
I think we're all secretly hoping for some of these races to go back to being more hardcore, while similar, like at the same time, like the game's supposed to be toning down the grim horrifyingness, but like we kind of want that hardcore badass feel. Like you can have a hardcore badass
the
feel.
grimness. The grimness
Well,
makes
just
it
because,
good.
like, I mean, like they brought up that point. They were like, well, first we fought demons that are from hell, and then we fought the dead itself, and then our world exploded. So, I mean, if you think about it from the character's perspective, which I guess we're supposed to do to a certain extent through role-playing, is that's going to be really traumatic. I mean, like, the last 10 years of
Yeah.
WoW have got to be, like, the most miserable time to be alive. Like, seriously, if this was an Earth, the suicide rate would be through the roof. Like, I'm just saying. Like,
my poor Elifritz, if I actually played him on a regular basis, he would probably need therapy.
yeah, like, I'm
Well,
just
see,
saying. Like,
that's
it's so
what you notice.
brutal.
Most RPers, they're orphans or widows or something. Like their family's dead. They're alone. I mean, there's some that you go out there and you'll see, in relationship with other people's characters or whatever. But a lot of them have like these really grim backstories. And if you think about it, it's not that surprising with the state of the world these days.
Right, yeah. I'm just saying, but like at the same time, like I don't want it to go the way of like Warhammer 40K, where it's just like a future of the government of humanity, like the entire human race is basically grinding people up to keep a corpse alive, and they're sacrificing, and there's like slavery and genetic mutation, and everybody's like everything's horrible and miserable and just depressing, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Wait,
so,
that's
I mean,
that's
Right.
not how the world is?
But I'm gonna back up a little bit about what Aroda said about hoping for whatever. Oh, when they heard that, I was really excited, and then they came out with the Hour of Twilight stuff, the Well of Eternity stuff, and I was like, oh God, please tell me this is not the extent of what they were going to put Tyrande in the spotlight or whatever, because that would just be horrible.
My destiny.
Oh.
Sorry.
No, I was
It was,
talking. That's illiterate, but I was talking about Tyrande because
No,
you go
no.
from like Warcraft 3 Tyrande and Erodus. You should. Please. I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but please edit in the sound clips of the two things I'm about to give examples of. You have the Warcraft 3 Tyrande, who is, the goddess is my shield, really tough and badass.
Only the goddess may forbid me anything. I will free Illidan whether you like it or not. There is nothing to fear in this place. The only enemy that has ever given me pause is now corrupting the lands above us. Let us be done with this business and get back to the surface.
And then you have the Well of Eternity, Tyrande, it's like, Lud, save me, oh!
Moon goddess, your light dims. I am lost without your guidance. Mother Moon, I can no longer see your light. Your daughter is alone in the darkness.
That pissed me off when I
Wait,
saw her.
I just
are you
remember
talking about the
when
new Well of Eternity? Where it's Illidan,
Yes!
what are you doing?
I just
She has
remember that.
Weird ass accent.
Well, no, it's the same voice actress. It's just she just put it on a little thicker than it used to be.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you're right to an extent. Like they're like in the beginning of Warcraft, or in Warcraft 3, it was like Tyrande sees these humans and they're like, there's some of these weird pink skinned guys, and they're hanging out with the orcs that just
fucking kill 'em!
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's not even a question. Oh, they're hanging out with orcs. Oh, well, I guess they're dead too. I don't give a crap.
Yeah, and then even just to the bitter end, she's like, you know what? No, I'm not working with these guys. I'd rather die.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I don't
Medivh
care
shows
if the
up-
world blows up. I'm not working with these bitches.
Like Medivh shows up and he's like, "Come on! I mean, come on!" And she's just like, "Nope, nope."
Fine. But they better buy me some new shoes.
Oh,
Come on.
the shoes, the high heels. Thank you. Oh my god, sorry. I'm going off on this one. They gave her fucking high heels. What the
They
fuck?
give Sylvanas and Kerrigan and Lanathel high heels too.
Yeah.
I have a
Kerrigan-
problem with heels on female characters in games anyways.
Well,
It
you have
just-
to blame cinema for that. You can't really
Yeah.
blame video games
But
for
no,
that.
you have to
Cinema was
understand,
doing that
the
long
combat
before.
stiletto, the whole idea behind combat stilettos just pisses me
That's
off.
what I'm saying. Like you have to
Oh.
blame cinema for that because they were doing that long before video games had the capability
As
to
a
fight.
man. As a man, I haven't got a problem with them. I can't see the issue.
Have you ever worn high heels? Because I'm telling you, it is defying the fucking laws of physics to say that a woman could wear heels and run and jump and fight like
She's
they
that
do in these.
badass. She can do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is just stupid. That's.
The redheaded chick from Watchmen did it.
Oh shit.
That's real life.
I like the whole, clear your breath afterwards. Like, yep, I just fucked them. I'm like, yep.
Nailed
Take
it.
that one, checkmate.
No,
Nailed it.
that's something I have to. Like I said, stop me if I get off on a feminist
No, it's
rant
cool.
here,
But
but,
in all
but that's
seriousness,
one thing that bothers me.
in all seriousness, I agree. I think it's silly. Like, why are they fighting? Why is she fighting? Like, she's a warrior, right? So she goes to a wardrobe and she's like, "Fuck, I'm gonna have to kill some people today or something."
Hang on, I'm googling
What
a
are the
picture of
best shoes?
Xena. I want to see if Xena was wearing high heels.
I think
No,
Xena wore
Xena had
boots.
boots. Xena
In
had
ancient
boots.
Greece.
Yeah.
See, but
Believe me, I'm like a
No, she had.
expert on Xena.
hang on, I'm looking it up.
No,
I'm looking it up.
And the thing that worries me is that if Blizzard decides to put high heels on all the females in game, we're gonna have a serious problem here.
Does
I don't
Jaina
think-
have high heels? Hold on, I'm gonna
Jaina's just-
fucking
you
wowhead
can't
this
see-
shit.
In my opinion, we need to put high heels on the female.
Do you guys know there's a
later.
Xena Barbie doll?
No.
What?
No.
My
What?
mind's
You
blown.
know who we
High
need to put
heels
high
everywhere.
heels on? Know who we need to put high heels on? We need to put high
Malfurion.
heels on Garrosh, Hellscream, and Varian.
Yes, thank you.
I'm a
No.
pretty little princess.
We need it on Lorthamar. The Blood Elves like high
No.
heels.
No,
Yeah.
no.
That actually
no.
makes
Just-
sense,
Unity
though.
thinks
He
that
just
Blood
the
Elves
next time we
are
see him, he looks
We
like
don't
Ziggy
need
Stardust. He's got like the glitter all over his face, and his hair's in this weird poof ball.
Dude, Blood Elves
Looks like he should be in Blade Runner.
Dude, Blood Elves don't girls anyway.
Close enough.
Listen,
Okay. Okay.
I'm going
I'm gonna roll it back a bit again to the story that we were supposed to talk about.
You say that like
Shocker.
we're off topic.
Almost like off topic. Almost like we do that all the time. in the story, the Naga refer to Tyrande as the false queen, and she, obviously is not queen of the Night Elves,
And she says that.
and she
Yeah.
says that.
She just never wanted to be queen.
Sounds
Yeah.
like some propaganda from Bajara to me.
It
Yeah,
sounds like
totally.
it. Do we know if there's any other instances where they refer to her like that? Like, is this
no, that's the first time
only
I've
in
heard of
this
it.
story?
You
Yeah.
refer to the one who'll bring balance to the Force. You believe it's this woman?
If you could,
I'm
if you
sorry.
could hear that, that was a face desk.
Oh wow.
I'm sorry. But
Yeah,
no, I don't think we
Star
have.
Wars podcast is recorded tomorrow. So we have to keep that separate. Remember.
No, I don't think we've ever had a Shara, like in the modern time, say anything directly about or to Tyrande.
We haven't even heard.
Have you had her say anything?
No, we have. seen
Bajara
some-
hasn't even
yeah,
been.
She has.
Oh,
she
in
has a-
Cataclysm she was.
She's
Oh,
in
in
Dark
Dark
Shore
Shore.
for like 20 seconds,
Oh,
and she's got like a
yes.
regular Naga sea witch
No, they
model.
gave her the lady what's her face?
Yeah, the Lady
Vash.
Vash model.
Yeah.
I was hoping that she would be a Kraken, just because that would be awesome, but apparently not.
I saw some art of her supposed to be like a octopus lady.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I guess it's kind of like a placeholder model, like most of the other models for big characters like that are. But yeah, I want her to look like Ursula from Little Mermaid. Like, I want her to be like this big, fat, ugly, creepy octopus monster.
Except
Except this is fantasy.
exactly.
This is fantasy, and there's only one fat chick in fantasy,
What?
and that's that stone chick. There's only one.
Hold on. No,
No,
I think
two.
it would be really cool if since she was so vain and so conceited, to have
Yeah.
her end looking like some.
Yeah, that was
Nasty.
kind of the thing I was going for. Yeah, make it look like some
that would be
nasty.
so cool.
Well, she would probably do a temper tantrum and then like stop serving the old gods.
Well, but then she could like put like an unnecessary amount of makeup on her face, and then dye her
She could
hair a funny
herself-
color.
She thinks herself
yeah.
that she's still beautiful. That would
Wouldn't
be
the
really-
makeup just get washed away?
Yeah,
No, dude, this
Yeah,
is
waterproof
you
makeup.
just said this is fantasy.
Yeah,
Magic.
waterproof makeup. Are you
magic.
kidding?
magic waterproof.
Listen, but
makeup.
we have to keep this grounded in reality.
This
You
ain't
know,
science
waterproof
fiction.
makeup.
I'll make you a deal.
doesn't make
there's,
sense.
there's no waterproof makeup if there's no high heels. There's no combat stilettos. I'll make you a deal.
That's too much.
Yeah.
I can't give those up.
Anyway, Rotis,
Yes,
do we
yes.
want to move on to the next topic?
Carry on. Well, we've pretty much covered the Tyrande story. How are we feeling, guys? Was that, did we cover it properly? Have we discussed everything we wanted to discuss about that story?
I think so. Tyrande sucks, and now
Oh no! Yeah, no.
Ouch. Okay.
Tyrande sucks now.
One
Okay,
thing I'll
now,
do before we
yes.
move on is ask where we want to put this story. Do we think it's one of the better ones, or do we think it's one of the worst ones out of what we've seen thus far?
It was middle.
I think it was well written, but the content of it was shitty.
See, it was well written, and it would have been a great story if it wasn't about Tyrande.
It would have been a good Chandra story.
It would have
What
been
are
a
we giving
great
it out of
Chandra
10?
story.
Out of
Agreed.
10? What are we giving it? Numbers, people.
I'd say
Numbers.
7.
6.
7?
Yeah, 7's. It's right about where I'd put it.
I'm gonna give it. I didn't actually.
What?
No,
Six.
What?
I'd say 6. I would say 6, just because of the giant block of Chandra.
Well, how about 6.66 then?
From what I can
Repeating.
remember, I'm gonna give it about a 6.5.
Huh?
It wasn't the best story, but I mean, I still remember it, so it's not that
Fine, a
bad.
6.6. Sound good? 6.6 out of 10?
I think that's a joint. Yeah, we've all got 6.6. Now,
Oh.
moving on to our next topic of discussion, and as you guys know, if you've been listening since the start, this is also a roleplay podcast. What? Yeah, it's a roleplay podcast as well.
Yes.
Of late, we've
hell's
been talking a lot
roleplay?
about what is that?
It's
shit?
a thing that we
Roleplay
do.
is for
You know?
geeks. Come on.
Yeah. But we've been talking a lot about the lore lately, so we sort of want to go back to roleplay because that's kind of what we're about as well. So kicking that off, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about another way to roleplay within the Warcraft universe. There's not just playing WoW. Funnily enough, there's other things to do as well. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Nothing wrong with WoW, but there's other ways of doing it that you may not know about. One of those ways is forum RP. And today, Mad God is going to be talking a little bit about that. So, Mad God, when you're ready, go, take it away.
Well, as I said in episode 5, I'm the moderator for the MMO-Champion role-playing forum. So this has pretty much been the main way I've role-played in probably since I first started, really. I did a little bit of in-game, but not too much. So there's a lot of differences between forum and in-game. Obviously, that you don't see the art as much, for example. Because it's all text-based. So instead of really role-playing through the chat systems in Warcraft and through emotes, it's a lot more of like it really looks more like writing a book. You look like you're writing a book when you role-play, which, depending on like who you are, could be awesome. Because I mean, some of these role-plays, man. Going on to that too, you have a lot more ability to do a lot more crazy shit while role-playing on a forum. So
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead if you have an example. I was going to throw off one by myself.
Oh no, I was just I was just going to agree with you. Actually, most of my role playing is not on MMO-Champions. It's on the World's End Tavern. Most of it is forum roleplay that I do, and it's just you can go into so much more detail. It feels like you can really expand on what you're doing. I like to whenever I cast a spell, I don't like, oh, I cast Frostbolt or whatever. But no, they go into
The details of it.
Yeah, the details. One thing I wish I knew, I never try and say the in-game name of the spell. I try and get it as detailed as possible so that people know what it is without actually saying.
And that's always the thing that I've noticed too. Like when you're reading stories about it just seems silly. Like it seems like you're in Inuyasha or Dragon Ball Z if you actually say the name of the spell when you're like writing it. Like the character doesn't know how to say it. Like if you type out the name of the spell, it seems really, really silly.
I think it ruins a lot of the flow of the roleplay, because a lot of what makes forum roleplaying very interesting is that it's not just halting talk and emotes like in relatively in game. You can have paragraphs in a single post just describing what your character's doing. So you go from, oh, Charles put down his teacup and then cast arcane shot. I mean, it's just it's
He's
very,
just
very
a Worgen hunter. He's got his top hat on. He's casually sipping some tea. Glances over, sees somebody coming his way, pops the round off, and goes back to sipping. Sorry, I just had to put a little bit of context in there.
No, but if you go into like a paragraph of talking about what your character's been doing, and then just go, oh, casts arcane blast. I mean, it's just it just really messes with the flow of the actual post.
Well, that's why I think this is such a good topic to discuss, because it really is boundless. Like, if you're really into the lore and you really like to not be confined by the limits, the mechanics of the game, this is a great way to do it. And it really is, I dare say, a better outlet for creativity than in-game, because you haven't got those restrictions on you. You know what you mean?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I agree with that to an extent. But go ahead, Danny.
Oh no, I'm just saying the thing that got me interested in roleplay wasn't actually the RP in game. It was the fact that I really like creative writing, and my problem is I'll get really excited about something and I'll write like 20 pages on it, and then I just completely lose interest and stop writing it. But the thing of it is with the RP is I can do it in smaller sections, and because there's more people, there's always something new. There's always a new idea that pops up, or you're responding to that character or this character, and it's really a great creative outlet.
I think the thing with forums is that it's like you said, you can get a big long post of something that's really creative, get a really big flow. And then, at least in my experience, you get those days where you get, where you're just like, I have only a paragraph's worth of thing, and it's the same message. I just don't have that muse today. But I think the difference that's really big for me is that, with the forums, you get that liberty to, take it beyond settings that are actually in game, add in things that aren't necessarily there. You get, you get the like things to scale. Like, Stormwind's obviously much bigger than it is to house the population that it has than it is in game. I think the problem that I end up having a lot of the time is the lack of interactivity and immediacy with forums. The only way that I've done a lot of forum games. They were mostly Warhammer in the past, which was really fun. By the way, it was really, really, really fun. And I there was like this. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of RPOL, but it was like this website that was sort of like made forums that were really kind of tailored to role playing. Like you could designate groups so that people could only see particular forums to be in particular scenes and not see what other people were doing. And there was like roles and all this other stuff. But like I tried to do it with Mass Effect before, and it was really cool. I really liked the premise of it, and I liked the way that it was going and the characters that I was bringing in. Problem is that people lost interest. Or just stopped posting, and it was really frustrating, that problem that I have. Yeah. So the only way that I've ever really been successful is if I'm actually like interacting with the people. Like if we were hanging out in like Vent or a chat channel or something while one person was posting, and then we would turn around and post right after that person was finished. It's still like it was sort of that I had to have that immediacy, like that interaction, the chatting going on to fuel interest. And I think that's the one downside that I've ever had. But I mean, granted, that's my perspective. I mean, I think it's just because I'm a little gerbil of a person anyway.
Well, no.
That
Sorry,
was a bit
go ahead.
harsh. Good. No, ladies first.
It's definitely a concern, but for example, what we have in MMO-Champion, we have a role-playing IRC channel that like a lot of people use, and we just chat, exactly. And a lot of people we just kind of chat very casually while like a couple people just go back and forth in one of the role plays.
Yeah, see, exactly. Yeah, but I have to have, like, for me, I have to have that.
Right.
Other people don't, but I mean, that's my personal thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, World's End does not have anything like that, but it'd be really cool if they did. But I've been in I haven't posted in forever. I really got to get around to that. Anyway, in a long-standing RP called Twilight Patrols, which is it's the guy doing the thread master for it had, I think, probably the longest running thread in the old World's End, which was over a year long RP, just story arc that he did, which I thought was really cool. But also he set up this actually on Skype, where everybody who's in the Twilight Patrols can go and chit chat or talk or plan stuff out for the actual RP. So it's kind of along the same lines. It's just World's End. You can set that up if you have a good group, but you're a little bit on your own as far as doing that.
Well, what you can do is you can maybe get a petition going on to like make your own IRC channel. Like if you can get enough people in it originally, it will stay there, and you all can just access it, and then maybe you can actually make that a sticky in the forum.
That's a good idea. Thank you for that. Except I don't know how to use our IRC.
Well, I can link it to you, I guess I can link it to you, and then I don't know. Maybe if you get onto the MMO-Champion thing, I can like direct you over to Sunshine, and she can do that. But
cool.
Or
so
you
guys are talking about like a lack of interactivity on some sort of a level, to some degree that you're not
there's
happy with.
There's less.
Immediacy is the word that I'd rather use.
Yeah, because
it's not like a role playing realm where there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people online. It's usually relatively small communities.
True, but the cool thing about that is that you can RP with people like who are in Australia or England. Yeah. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry so much about.
You need to deal with people again.
Trying to coordinate being online at the same time.
Yeah. It's a lot more casual.
Yeah, and sometimes the slower pace works in your favor. I mean, you get some of them when they first.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like that's kind of the advantage. Oh, sorry, you broke up there. I thought you were finished. My bad.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that it's like it gives you that feeling that like even if you can't role play with a particular group of people that you hang out with every day and I just can't be here because of X or something like that. You can still get stuff done because it's. The story can still go because you don't have to be there. You don't have to be there immediately to do it. You can do it, if they're on at 7 and you're on at 1 in the morning, it's still getting done. It's just so you don't have to worry about the time constraints of being there at the same time together. So
yeah, that's definitely something nice.
Have you ever thought about marrying the two forms of roleplay within the Warcraft universe. So what I mean by that is you have your forum RP that I guess is more in depth and you can cover a lot more ground, but you could also have the option to jump in game and roleplay maybe the smaller things that happen.
I do that.
Has that ever happened?
With a character?
With a character, yeah.
Half of my characters are I play them in character in game. There's my paladin. There's my mage guy who's a warlock in game because I made him a long time ago. There's the Worgen hunter that I was leveling. There's just a lot of different stuff like that. There's even my druid on my main realm of Area 52, and I'm a PvEer, but he's actually based off of one of my role-playing characters. But yeah, you can definitely do both in-game, or what I did a lot with my characters was I melded events in-game into my forum role-playing history. So a lot of my elves, my 3 elves, a lot of their story and what happened to them was really based off of what happened in Warcraft 3 in the Undead campaign. In Quel'Thalas and Dalaran. So, and it's a lot of basis in the games, not just the general lore, compared to some of my other characters.
Yeah, I definitely do basically the same thing where the RPing events that occur in World of Warcraft definitely translate into a lot of threads that end up forming between me and assorted characters. I don't think I've ever really been involved in these huge community type events that you guys have described. It's always been one or two
more personal.
Yeah, one or two additional people other than myself. Just
we have those
exchanging back and forth.
We have those too. One of our role players a couple months back made the first of our interpersonal character pages. So we've seen a lot of role plays, private role plays that have come up, which have kind of made characters kind of get into relationships with each other, whether that would be romantic or friendship or hatred or whatever. Just expanding on the interpersonal relationships between characters.
I think one of the things that I end up using, and I'm going to make this joke before anybody else does, is since I used to use AIM for like several storylines, or not AIM, but rather Pigeon. Somebody's going to make a cybering joke, but I'm just going to bypass that. But like we used to use it a lot for like things that, like scenes that we couldn't really portray in game. Like I had a storyline that involved like tracking down a particular Death Knight, say, in Northrend, and it was just some random dude that I invented for a greater plotline. But it was, they were tracking him down, and I couldn't use settings in WoW because, surprisingly, Northrend, the place full of snow and mountains, doesn't really have a whole lot of empty mountains that you can use, and a lot of empty, just snowy, creepy-looking, evil mountainous fields to have, grandiose battles on cliffsides. But I mean, it's just like you can use like I use chats on every now and then, like Pigeon or AIM or something like that, to get that what you were talking about, Rotus, to get that you get the shorter stuff of the storyline in RP, and then in game in WoW, and then if you have to do scenes that are particularly out of game, or there's details going on, there's some sort of ritual or something that's just. It's just a lot easier to convey in a chat without a character limit. I think that's primarily the thing that I have an issue with is the character limit in WoW. And granted, there are mods that like I have that makes it so that you can just kind of stream a chat message and it'll just break it up for you at chat limits. But I hate the character limit, and I understand why it's there to prevent spam. I mean that makes sense, but for somebody as a role player, it gets really, really difficult to deal with.
Agreed.
So I'm gonna put this on the table, right? You're a new role player, you're listening to this show, and you think, okay, this sounds interesting. I didn't know too much about Forum RP. I didn't know there was a different way to roleplay within the Warcraft universe. What would you guys suggest? What would you suggest in regards to dipping your toes into that world? Where's a good place to do it? How should you create a character that can interact on that level? What are the best things to do?
Character
Sorry,
thing is... go ahead.
Sorry. Sorry. I just gotta say... if you're talking about Forum RP, there's some really good stickies on on the World's End Tavern for beginner RPers. They specifically were put in place for beginners who wanted to take a look. And after reading those that was the first thing I did when I started RPing, was read those, and then I kind of had a better idea of how to get started with it.
So you're
There's
saying
also
just read through some, and that'll be the best way to sort of see whether you like it or not.
I think it also depends on the type of stuff, because like for us, you know, for the stuff that I did on Warhammer, obviously, it wasn't small scale character to character based. There was a lot of like macro events going on, like large scale stuff. So I guess it depends. You also have to be careful. Like, I mean, I don't know if it really addresses it. I haven't read those threads, but I mean, it's more than just character development. It's also a lot of etiquette involved in, like, you know.
Yeah, they cover everything. They have.
Oh,
they
okay.
have
Do they really? Oh, okay.
they're
Because
sticky.
Yeah,
They go
MMOs.
that was the etiquette that we always had an issue with. Was we were like, okay, we have these characters and everything, and then we had this guy that showed up in the middle of the story, and we're like, okay, yeah, we can introduce this guy, and then he shows up, and he's like, oh, his army shows up, and he's got like a million freaking dudes here, and then they just wipe out everybody, and you were like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
no, like, hang on a second, bro, hang on.
But no, they cover everything from character development to form etiquette. They even, at one point, it goes into like the different terminology you'll see with.
Oh, does
like,
it have a
Okay.
definition of
The,
Mary suing? Because I'd really
the-
like a straight up definition of Mary suing to like end the debate that we always have about what that means.
It's actually they explain it, but it says it's a fairly ambiguous term that people use.
It
how they
really
claim
is.
For
That's the
special
thing.
Because all those Mary Sue tests are a load of crap, for the record. I've taken like 20 of them, and apparently, like, whatever, like, there was one that was like just being a blood elf, or just being a character that like cares about whether or not he washes his hair.
No, it's very
makes
subjective.
Makes you Mary Sue, like, it gives you
Yeah.
Mary Sue points to have good hair.
Fuck. No,
Yeah, like, you having good hair gives you Mary Sue points.
no, but
I wouldn't say having good hair, but being obsessed with your hair probably.
Well, yeah, sure. but
Having
it's
good
just-
hair is an
Well,
undead.
I don't-
It's pretty Mary Sue.
No, I'm just like, but like having like, okay, like freaking, you know, not everybody's gonna have hair like Smeagol. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are people that are just gonna be like, I wash my hair because I don't want my hair to smell like poop. Like, it just,
Those
I don't know.
photos, they're kind
Oh
of-
my god, what a
Well, you know-
smell like poop.
I think
My-
one of the hang-ups for some people is they'll be listening to this and they'll think, okay, so it's boundless in a lot of regards. I guess they'll be asking, what regulates that? What is in place to stop someone from saying, oh, that was a really cool move and I like how your mage did that spell, but you know what, behind this corner over here, I've got like 20,000 raptors, so you're just dead. Like, what's going to stop people from doing that?
there's a lot of etiquette. There
Yeah,
really
it's
is
a
a lot
lot
of etiquette,
It's-
especially
really
in
down to
war
etiquette.
role
Okay.
plays.
it really comes down to who moderates it and people just generally not being dicks to each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah, no, there's a lot of etiquette stuff, and there's a lot of there's a lot of, I don't know. It really, the communities generally moderate themselves for the most part. Most of the people who come in and do all that sort of thing aren't messed with, especially in war role plays, because for that, what you bring in is what you have. You can't just suddenly go, oh yeah, I can get a bunch of raptors and I can be like, oh yeah, I'm winning and such. No, you can't do that. You have to have, if you have like, you bring in 500 spearmen, 500 cavalry, that's all you got. There is no, it's a very, especially with combat role playing, there's a lot of, you have to be very sure of yourself in order to get into that. And I really recommend a lot of new role players who are interested in that sort of thing be either very self-conscious or maybe just wait until you're more confident in your role playing before you.
I'd also recommend, as far as like, especially combat roleplay, because it comes a very controversial topic. But I think the thing that I've learned over all of the years that I've had playing this game and other games and roleplaying in general is that, like, if you're gonna do combat roleplay stuff, do it with people that you can trust to be adult about it. You know what I mean? Like,
'cause
That's also
Yeah,
part
nobody,
of it.
nobody likes losing, and somebody has to lose in those situations.
Yeah,
Somebody has
exactly.
to man up and be okay. I'll
and you have to acknowledge that, like, you have to acknowledge that your dude's going to take a sock to the face. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's going to get
Right.
the crap beat out of him. Like, nobody, you don't have one-sided fights. Like, they're really
It's very
like,
much a give and take.
Yeah, like,
It
you
is
can-
very much a give and take.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, like, you know, typically the thing that I always like to do is and people who are really about immersion and I guess method in a way to an extent, and that just gets into how you do acting. But like, I really like to pre-plan how those things end. like just
That's-
the general outcome.
That's
I
what
mean-
a lot of our role players do in the role plays. Like two of the MMO-Champion guys, Vidur and Nonfic. Hi guys, by the way, if you're listening to this. But they do a lot of pre-planning of how the events in their war role plays go out. They generally have a general view of who's going to win in this particular scene.
Yeah.
And it's generally very much agreed upon by the participants in those role plays.
Yeah. But as far as new people are concerned, that is probably one of the huge things that I
That-
would always stress is
I would-
deal only in those types of controversial situations with people that you can trust to act like men or like act like adults about it. I was going to say men, and then I realized that there were
Yeah.
women. I mean, but
Excuse me.
I was not. I was trying to say people that would man up and be adult and just have some balls about it and be like, you know what, he'll
Yeah.
lose.
Yeah,
I wasn't
I'm a very
identifying it.
seasoned-
Because that was sexist.
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
You better be.
But
Sexist.
when,
I was being metaphorical about it.
if I were to give a piece of advice to new role players, one thing I would also give is don't you gotta have a fairly thick skin and don't take anything personally, because I've seen both. This just applies to two situations. One where let's say you're playing a blood elf. Well, one of my characters that I RP is an orc, and she hates elves. She thinks they're a bunch of sissy pansies, and whenever interacting with them, she'll be really harsh on elves. And I've had people get really, butthurt about that. Like, oh, you hate my character, I'm going to go cry. And it's like, it's not that I hate your character, it's my character hates your character.
Yeah, you have to be very... The way I kind of describe it in terms of that is don't necessarily... Think of it like the characters are puppets. They're not... They don't do what they do because the role player really believes that, for the most part.
Yeah.
Most of the good role players are...
They're actually playing a character. It's
Right.
acting.
Like,
I mean,
I'm-
it's
Yeah.
straight up what it is. It's acting.
I like to think that I'm a nice guy, right? But my character very funny. But my character Eknoctus and Charles and Captain Rocher, I mean, they're dicks. They will gut whoever they want. I mean, Charles is the sort of guy who will be like, "Oh yeah, I'll help you out, bro. But is that something shiny? Oh, stab. Catch you later, bro." Whee! Like he just does not care. He is a ruthless bastard. But I'm not like that. I like
Well,
to
that's a big issue we get into when engaging in roleplay with other people is the understanding of separation of player and character.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes really, really, really scary at times, depending on the roleplay you engage in, like romantic relationships, for instance. If one person is thinking, they're playing a character and they're playing a romantic scene, but the other person is far too emotionally attached to the role playing and they don't understand that it's acting, it
See, that's
becomes
the
a
whole
whole
reason.
new level of terrifying.
That's the whole reason I do not ever RP romantic relationships with anybody. I won't do it. Hands down, won't do it.
I'm the same, exactly the same. I will not get involved with it.
I think that's the other, but Plague touched on something. It's very you are straight up acting. Like, everybody here will probably acknowledge. No, never mind. Jack Nicholson's a terrible example. Okay, Heath Ledger is not actually the Joker. Like, everybody acknowledges that he was not
dead.
Well,
He's done anything.
I'm just full of terrible examples. Okay, you know what? Fine, I'm just gonna go back to Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson did not stab his family because he's an insomniac writer. Okay, I'm just saying, like, he may really be crazy, and I'm serious. He really may be crazy, but I'm just saying, like, it's acting. Like, that's
right.
You really have to put yourself in the scope of you're an actor in a play of sorts, and it's like the fact that you're interacting actively in it makes it no different. But one of the other things that I really wanted to kind of put in there about new people dealing with it and taking criticism is like not everybody's gonna like how you write.
Yeah.
Oh
another
God,
thing.
no!
That's where I
and
was
that's-
going to go with this.
and
right?
that's-
Many people I have had to. There's one person. I love them. They're really nice, but they don't speak English as their first language, and their grammar is not exactly perfect. And there's been a lot of people who've ripped on them because of it, and I've had to clean up messes of that sort for months. But
No.
honestly, if you're with a group of role players who comment on your English, you don't want to be with those people. They're not.
Yeah, I mean exactly. It's
See,
like
kind of. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say it's it's a matter of like there are people that get really meticulous about spelling, about punctuation. I throw commas everywhere in my roleplay. I go to town with commas. You have no idea.
I do.
I
do.
know,
But
do.
I'm just saying, like
I know exactly how
Yeah.
far to town you go with your goddamn commas. You son of
But
a
I'm just, but I'm just saying, like it's like it's maybe not grammatically correct, but it's the way that the words are presented in my head. So like I'm using those commas because I think in those kinds of pauses all the time. It's not Shatnerific, but
that's
it's just,
how they're supposed to be used.
so, I mean, it's just it's a matter of really like I don't appreciate like even if somebody really sucks at spelling. If they like, I mean, just saying, people can improve on them. That's something that somebody can improve on. There's no reason to hate on them for it.
See,
True.
that's the thing. You don't try and be too harsh with people like that, but you do want to kind of nudge them in the right
Sure,
direction.
you want to nudge them. I mean,
That's
no,
why.
this is true.
That's why we kind of encourage, at least on most of the threads I'm in, you encourage put your best effort into it, and we will never ever rip on you about it. As long as you're making a conscious effort to do your best, we'll help and we'll kind of guide you along the way, but just try, don't use
Yeah.
leet speak or whatever like
mean,
that. And
I guess that's the thing is like like I've made mention of this in conversation that we've had, but it wasn't ever on the podcast. I think that's probably one of the few things about the role-playing community in general that I really kind of get disappointed at is how fast people tend to shut down new players. My real role-playing with Warcraft, for example, and really online, is that like in Warcraft 3, there was a lot of terrible roleplay, and I was right there with it. Okay, like I was god awful with Warcraft roleplaying for the longest time. I mean, I had a character that was basically like an orc blade master that was like the fucking predator. Okay, that was literally the premise of the character, that he was the fucking predator, but he was an orc.
It sounds legit to me.
Oh,
Exactly.
but like,
I don't see how
but
this is
just
bad.
it was really like I guess the issue is just that I really don't like when people shut people down about roleplay. Like when you're intentionally being god awful. I mean, like when it's really god awful and they're being really dumb about it and there's no effort to make an original character. Like if the person's playing that they're Sephiroth and they're genuinely trying to play that they're Sephiroth, I'm gonna walk away because there's no effort for originality in that. And I guess, but I mean, just saying, it's like I don't like shutting people out like that. I used to do a lot of random roleplay with strangers, and it was like I'd tolerate a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
for me, if it can make sense in lore, it's fine.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a bit of I don't know, purist isn't the right word, but I'm
And
a bit of a purist when it comes to lore. As long as you're on spot with the lore, I'll give you a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
But I will not hesitate to politely point out when you make an egregious lore error.
Well, that's what I do.
It's like even then, even if it's something that maybe stretches the lore, like if it's not a factual event, like if you're making conjecture on whether or not
If it
something
makes
exists,
sense, it's fine.
well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like
But if it's just like out there,
if your character,
then it's
is a magic construct, let's put it that way, like somebody that's some sort of golem or something like that. If you can explain it really well, I'll go with it. There's no real example of like android human creations that I can think of off the top of my head. And
well,
wow,
there's the
that
blood elf guards.
The
other guards.
Mimiron.
no, I wasn't talking about.
Just
That. Yeah, well,
Oh.
no, what I was talking about, I'm talking about like golems in the sense of like it's an android, I guess is the
I
word.
see what you're saying. Like
Magical
artificial.
angel,
Oh, okay.
per se.
I see. I see.
That like I've seen a couple people that roleplay that, and I'm like, okay, that's okay. I don't really like when they use like sci-fi terminology to name them, like they name them Experiment X-44. You can name him Bob, and I'm cool with it. But it's just, you know what I mean? It's just like it. as long as somebody really explained and really like, because Anvina is kind of the same premise, so it's even then it's still there, and I guess that just kind of makes it not as much of an example as I thought. But in the sense that I'm just saying, as long as somebody really kind of gives an effort to like, okay, this is how it happened, and I really, really am trying to make this legit and play it off well, then that's fine.
Yeah. There's a guy. It was relatively early in the MMO-Champion forum's lifespan. It was probably within the first couple months. And this was back when we had a gated community. So in order to get in, you had to be approved by a moderator. And in order to be approved by a moderator, you had to make a character biography and have it passed by the general public. This was mainly so that we didn't have to deal with trolls.
No.
But there was a guy who got approved, and how do I put this politely? He was, or in a non-zany way, his character was half night elf, half human, half dragon.
Awesome.
He was
Pig.
he was
God,
he was
three
the,
halves.
he was
Oh,
the
man.
son of
Did he-
Illidan, Varian Rin, and I
Like
think
Felfriel.
Alex Straza, actually. And
Really?
Sleep with
he was a
Sylvanas?
demon hunter.
Did
He was
he-
a demon hunter Death Knight.
Oh Jesus!
Because I knew a
Like
guy
Felfriel.
that roleplayed that he was half human, half elf, and he was also half dragon, and
Three
he
halves.
was the secret lover of Sylvanas. That was the best part about it.
That was
Okay,
no,
hold
that wasn't in it as far as I
Oh.
remember. It was absolutely. It just, and I was just appointed one of the new quote unquote mods because there was it's kind of a long story about how I became an actual mod there, but there was another guy who was the first quote unquote mod. He wasn't a full mod. And he approved this guy. He was just kind of, applicant, yes.
Yeah.
He was just no quality control. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? And it was just a big hassle. And it was just it was probably the worst character biography I've ever read. And I was like, you know what? I can't even fix this. I can't fix this.
You know, you got
We have to track
you
down
all
and their
speaking
pig.
Ugh.
Speaking of, quality control on that, I am a very big proponent of quality control. I understand that there's a point at which we all need to be understanding and nurturing of new role players and people that don't speak English as their first language. But at the same point, if you can't use a goddamn semicolon, I don't want to have anything to do with you.
No, I don't really use
There's-
semicolons often at all, so...
And that's why I don't argue with you anymore.
No, but I agree with that. You have to
There are some
you have to
things
be nice and give them a chance. But at some point, you have to say that okay, I'm sorry, but this character is not gonna work. It's just not.
Yeah.
Start over.
Yeah, there was
Here's
a
some
guy.
ideas.
Along with Manbear Pig.
There was a guy who also kind of did something like this, except not as extravagant as the last guy I mentioned. And I think one of his characters was like best friends with Arthas when he was a Death Knight or something like that. And he
Aw,
just
shit.
he just
Yeah.
we were trying to help the guy out. We were trying to help him out. We were trying to tell him, no, this doesn't work. No, this is overpowered. No, that's
And
just
then they get really
Him and Arthas
hurt
both
about
are
it.
cracking
no,
open
They get
trouble
upset
once.
about it.
no. He was very eager, but he really half-assed his editing, and we kind of just gave up on him.
Yeah. It's the people need to not be so damn attached to their characters though sometimes.
Guys, this-
I like my characters, but when people get so defensive that they won't change even if they have like some horrible lore problem, but
Right.
they're too attached to it that they don't want to do it right.
I'm probably putting my head on a pike here, but my dragon character, I'm already kind of
No, that's
Yeah,
cool.
deep in
That's
water
cool. I've already-
or lava.
Get the torches and the pitchfork.
As long as it's done properly.
Right, my dragon character, Arilithraz, this was back before the latest Warcraft books about 4.3 came out. Because I conjectured that, or I thought that Alex Straza, there really isn't a set number of consorts that she really has. So I kind of put them up there because it was a very vague thing. I was stretching the lore a lot, but I made it make sense. And when I read that she didn't have any more consorts, I was like, well, fuck. And I pretty much rewrote him. I rewrote that entire part of him. And because I think that's something that you kind of do have to
It still has to
think
be
about.
yeah.
You have to really think about that. If you're making characters that are that stretch the lore a lot, you have to realize and you have to be objective that if you're proven wrong, you're going to have to do some drastic revision, or you're going to have to scrap that character altogether.
I'm still thinking of Arthas and some guy just sitting on a patio somewhere, cracking open a cold one,
Oh my god.
shooting soda cans off of a fence with a pea shooter. Like, they're just best buds, just him and Arthas.
That's what I find
my
funny,
God.
right? You've got this guy, and he walks up to this role player who's friends with us. He's like, "Gee whiz, I'm really bummed out." And he's like, "What's the matter, bro?" And he's like, "Well, my whole city just got razed to the ground." And this role player is like, "Look, I'll have a talk to him. We'll sort this out. We'll get this fixed up. Don't worry about it, man.
Just saying,
I know the
Sonny
guy.
and I are mates. You know, we'll have a bit of a conversation about it. We'll
I
sort
know
it
the
out.
guy, right? We'll figure it
Right.
out, and we'll see what we can do. Yeah. All right. I'm not making any
So
promises,
much-
but look, I kind of know him. Okay, well, we've pretty much discussed everything that I think we wanted to discuss with this, the whole Forum RP idea. I think if you're interested in
Relatively
getting
speaking.
into it, relatively speaking, if you're
Yeah, we
interested
didn't really
in
talk too
getting
much
into
about
that,
it as much as like new people coming in, but whatever, it's all good.
we danced around the topic, and everyone likes it when people who can't dance. So they were entertained. If you're interested in getting into this sort of thing, I'd highly recommend going and checking out the MMO forums. Have a look around there, read some of the threads that are up. Get
I
into
think we
it,
can,
basically.
I think we can put some links for some of the starting quote unquote guide threads into the video description for both MMO-Champion and possibly
World's End as well.
Possibly.
World's
So
End.
are you saying MMO-Champions is better than World's End?
Oh,
Is that where you're
much
going? Is that where you're going with this?
Well, do you have chocolate cake? Didn't think so.
No.
Cake isn't real. That's
No,
a
the cake's a
lie.
lie.
Oh, well,
But we
no,
do
the
have
cake is real
cookies.
here. The cake is so real here. All the
jumping-
moderators get free cake.
World's End will be up. Trust me, they'll both be up. I both think they're great. Now, we've also got another little announcement that we'd like to put forward. Mad, do you want to take that away for us?
Yeah, quite all right. So over the past couple weeks, we've been discussing, mostly Arotis and I, we've been discussing ideas on how to expand the show. And one of the topics, or one of the ideas that came up was Let's Plays of some of the old Warcraft games. And I think we've got a pretty good idea of how we are going to do that and what we want to do with that. And hopefully we can get a couple episodes out in the next couple weeks for you guys. I think we're probably going to start with Warcraft 3 and work our way backwards. But again, you'll find out when the time comes and all that stuff.
Yeah, like
So-
we're still planning a lot of this stuff out. So the ideal way I think we want to do it is we'll start off from Warcraft 1, or we might start off with Warcraft 3. It just depends on where we go from it, because more people are familiar with Warcraft 3, and it might be better.
And it
to
might
work
be better to
backwards.
just... Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But all in all, we're going to be doing a Let's Play series. We're going to be commenting on what's happening in these different games as they happen. We'll talk about, if something's been retconned during this mission or something that isn't widely known, we'll be talking about it. I've also been in talks with some other people that are prominent in the community. So, for instance, Omicron, I was having a bit of a talk to him via PM on Scrolls of Lore, and he said pretty much, yeah, he'd be interested in coming onto the show and possibly even doing this as well. So look forward to that as well.
Yep. And also for, Warcraft 3, for example, there are some goodies in that game, and I think it would also be a wonderful idea just to show some of those off, like the Hydralisk and the exploding things.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Exploding things!
Before we get to the show. You should take pictures of all the maps of Warcraft as it's gone through the games and like track the position of South Shore. Because that's really funny to look at. Like, you should seriously look at how South Shore's positioning
It's wiped off
is.
the map now, so...
Well, I'm just saying, like, it was just really funny because in the second game, it's like where Gilneas is, and then in Warcraft 3, it's sort of all the way over by Arathi, and then in WoW, it's between the two, and now it's gone. It's really funny to look at things like that. Like, things like...
It's not gone, it's just been turned into group. Or goop. Goop. It's goop. It's now
just
goop.
really green.
It's group.
That's why we want to
It's
discuss
group.
this. That's why I want to do this, because we can discuss these things that have changed in the lore. We can discuss things that aren't widely known. Like, I was playing Warcraft 1 the other day in preparation for this whole project, and there's a place called Sunnyglade. I completely forgot about Sunnyglade. That's pretty much been wiped from the map, or from the game's history.
You know,
no one ever
something
talks about that.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No.
No.
Go.
Something I would like to address at some point during these is Pandaren and how they are quote unquote, because there's a lot of flaming of this going on, how they aren't a part of lore, how they're a rip off of
Fuck that shit.
We'll set that straight.
how they're a rip off of that kids movie
Kung Fu Panda.
Kung Fu Panda.
I've had to see about 1,000 of those fucking threads.
I know.
Also,
I would like to address
Also
that at
known
some
as
point.
Jack
'cause
Black,
that-
the movie.
We'll
Well, you know
definitely-
what I
Yeah,
want to
it's-
do?
that is such BS.
We're
dumb
probably
episode
going to do
about
the Rexar
Jack Black
campaign.
voicing a panda. You remember that part? Because I thought that was funny.
What?
Yeah, during BlizzCon, somebody asked if Jack Black was going to voice any of the NPCs.
That was cool.
Like, I was like, not sure if trolling or...
Genius
I'd be okay
idea.
with it.
I
don't
think
care.
for one of them, I would be
Yeah,
fine with it,
for
but
like a
not
little
as
joke.
all of them.
Just because so many people are freaking out about, oh my god, they ripped off Kung Fu Panda, and I would like at some point to be able to go and officially address that these guys are out of their fucking minds.
Well, you know
We'll
what I
set a lot
want
of
to do?
things straight.
If we do the Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne thing, I am not going to just sit there and let the Rexar RPG-ish campaign just sit there. We are going to do that. It is a long campaign, but it is a beautiful campaign. It sets up one of the lore's most interesting characters, to me at least.
We'll be
And-
covering everything in the series, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
In depth.
We're covering all.
On that note, I think we might close the show, guys. Have you got anything to say? Anything, like anything at all?
You know when you're
Shit, it could be
wanking, yeah?
philosophically significant. What? You know when you're wanking.
I'm a little heartbroken that we had to remove the Rick Perry ad.
You know when you're wanking, yeah?
No comment.
Well,
No comment.
We
no
talked
comment.
about we talked about that, and I think it was a little bit tasteless. Which is, it's not bad.
Which is true.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
true,
true.
but I thought the whole thing was kind of tasteless. So
fair enough.
That's not like we're tasteful anyway. Like
I think
But
we're
I'm
tasteful.
okay.
I think we have.
I would apologize because I do tend to be fairly foul-mouthed, and if I offend anybody, I'm sorry.
you're apologizing in front of me. Like I should be the one apologizing first. Like Jesus Christ. I just blasphemed. But
You're going to hell.
Because I do have a tendency to drop the F-bomb every once in a while.
just don't fucking
Fuck
swear.
the
then, okay?
F-bomb.
It'll be fine. Just don't fucking
It's
swear.
like that.
Let's wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's been a good episode. I think we covered something. Covered
How much
close
we
it
hate
off.
solos.
Let's close it off. Thanks for listening, guys, and remember.
In my sea of loathing, broken, your servant died. Will you give it to me? It seems what's left of my human side is slowly changing.